This is the unofficial Star Wars X-Wing Miniatures Game podcast. So, strap yourself in.
Stay on target.
Fly casual. Let the Wookiee win.
And more importantly, enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to the X-Wing podcast, brought to you by Lemon, Honey and Ginger Tea.
Yes.
I'm Ben Curry.
And I'm Ben Johnson.
And in this episode we're going to be talking all about our top tips for beginners like us.
Yeah.
So if you look on the forums, there's tons and tons of threads as to,
yeah.
I'm a beginner, do you have any tips for me? So we've sort of read through them ourselves anyway, as you do when you get into the game, and we've now compiled a few of our favourites and also some that we've found ourselves from just learning.
Yeah, just from doing, isn't it?
Quite a good way of doing it, I think. You know, tracking what you're learning as you're learning it, so then you can think, oh, I did learn that, and that is, you know, it's cool. It helps you sort of remember it. Yeah, it's cool. Okay, so before we get into the topic, it's been new ships now. It's probably late to the party on this. It was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Wave 4's been
Wave
released.
4 stuff,
And
isn't it?
we've had a few people ask, can we do a review of Wave 4? And I don't think we kind of want to go down that. Probably don't know enough about what it brings to the game, other than, ooh, pretty.
Yeah.
But the ships, we've got an E-Wing, a Z-95 Headhunter, and Imperial's bringing TIE Defender and TIE Phantom. So what are your thoughts? Let me guess your thoughts. Don't like them, they're not in the movies.
Yeah, I don't like them, they're not in the films.
I kind of think they're cool.
I'm not sure how that Defender lands.
Same as, how does the Interceptor land? And none of them land. None of them land. I kind of like them. I think my favourite is the E-Wing. I quite like the shape of it.
Yeah.
And looking at some of the cards that have been released as well, it seems like it's an A-Wing, all the twos.
Yeah, so we've got a Bandit Squadron pilot in a Z-95 Headhunter.
12 points.
12 points. Pilot skill 2, 2 attack, 2 defend, 2 shields, 2 hull. Focus, target lock, and can carry some missiles.
And so it does everything the A-Wing does except the boost. So if you give it an engine upgrade, that puts it up to what? Is that 4 points for an engine upgrade? 3 points?
Sure.
So, you know, it's still pretty cheap. 2 or 3 points cheaper than the A-Wings.
Yeah.
So a lot depends on what the dial's like, I suppose, how much green is on there.
Yeah. And how fast it can go. I assume it can go pretty quick, but looks pacey.
Yeah, it looks quite nippy. So yeah, I like them. I like the looks of them. I was a bit concerned when they start bringing more stuff that they struggled to make the ships look awesome, because obviously the early waves, which are from the movies, they all look, even if they're ugly looking ships, they all look awesome because they're from the movies. But no, these look particularly cool, especially that Phantom. I really like the look of the Phantom.
Yeah, I did read as well. This one of them got a hyperdrive or something like that.
One of them's got a stealth device.
That might be it, yeah.
A cloaking device or something on the Phantom. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they're like when they come out. And one of the things that I see brought up on the forums as well is, what are your thoughts on new ships like this? So assuming the ships are out and the cards are online, but you can't get your hands on them yet, how would you feel if someone wanted to play one against you, proxy them?
To be honest, the same as I feel about it with it all. If you're going to go to an event and pay money to play, I kind of want people to have the right stuff. You know, be that cards, be that rule books. You know, don't think someone should turn up with a photocopy of a Luke Skywalker card.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Well, you're not allowed at a tournament. If you use the official rules, you can't.
Yeah. If you're playing your mate at home and you just want to give something a try and you're working on a list and that sort of thing, yeah, go nuts, absolutely. How many times have we played games where we've had beer mats as bits and bobs, just because we want to give it a try? But if you're actually going somewhere where other people, certainly as well, other people that you don't know,
of course,
have paid their hard-earned money, I think you should have the right stuff. Yeah. I
don't even like the idea of, if I went around Chris's house next week in the man cave to play, and Chris goes, I want to try these TIE Defenders out, and he's got 3 normal ties and says these are all defenders. I don't know. I don't think I'd like that. I don't think.
I wouldn't be a fan if you just sprung it on me. If we were like, oh yeah, we'll give them a try, then yeah, I think I'd be all right with that. But yeah, certainly not an event.
No, definitely not. Okay. Well, let's take a break and let's get into things then.
Have we got? Sorry, before we do, we've got a release date for these.
Yeah. I think release dates are vague at best.
Fair enough.
I think the word on the street is like start of summer or something.
Right. Okay.
I think officially it's listed as second quarter. So.
But isn't that when the transport and stuff's out? Second quarter.
I'm not entirely sure. Then, not entirely sure.
Okay.
I didn't see a release. I wasn't looking for a release date, so even though I might have seen one, I wasn't paying attention.
Right.
It didn't sink in. Still waiting on Thai Aces, which we've got on pre-order, and don't know when they're going to turn up. So, okay, we'll take a break, and then we'll get into the top 5 top tips.
Okay.
The topic for today's show is pro tips for beginners, or beginners pro tips, which you said on the show note. That sentence just is odd.
Yes.
But tips for beginners.
Yeah.
So we've done, I think we did like 6 or 7 each, and then there was some crossover. So we've whittled it down to 5 tips each. And shall I start, or do you want to start?
Yeah, you go. Go.
So my first tip is an opponent's ship. So if you're chasing another ship, when it moves, it will always move into its current firing arc. So let's say you've got an X-Wing. Every movement on his dial will be into a position which that ship would currently be able to see. This only applies to ships that don't barrel roll or boost. So if an X-Wing does any maneuver, hard 1, hard 2, hard 3, any of its banks, its K-turns, that X-Wing will be able to see its current position. So what that means is, if you move to exactly where that X-Wing is, you're going to be able to see that ship no matter where it is. Which is cool for 2 reasons. First, if you've got a higher pilot skill, you can fly into the vacated spot, yeah? And you're going to be able to see it if your facing's the same. If you've got a lower pilot skill, and you're not that bothered about your action, you can just blast straight into the back of it and crash, and you know that you're going to be able to see where it ends up. Where this gets a bit different is if it boosts or barrel roll, it can get out of its own current firing arc, so you have to just bear that in mind with your positioning. But I thought that was a first tip. Good one.
Even a hard one?
A hard one you can still see. So when you do a hard turn, your left-hand firing arc will now be directly in line with your right-hand firing arc in your final position.
Okay.
It moves onto the same line. So
That's interesting.
Even a hard one, the ship will be able to see if that ship stayed where it was and a ghost of it moved, it would be able to shoot its Mario Kart ghost.
It's Mario Kart ghost.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, what you got then?
So, army builder or squadron builder or anything like that. So when we first started playing, straight away needed something to...
Death by a million cards, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a little bit, and not knowing what they did and all that sort of thing. So, quick ask on Twitter, quick Google search, and found one called the unofficial X-Wing miniature game Squadron Generator, and it can do several things. I don't actually know who wrote it, so whoever that was, well done. It can do it manually, so you can put in the kits that you've got. So you can put in, you've got 2 starter sets and 2 X-Wings and yada yada yada, and then you get drop-down menus where you can go, right, I'll have an X-Wing, it'll be Biggs, I'll give him this, I'll give him the other. And obviously once your options have run out, any other options white out, so you can't take them. So once you've given him a pilot skill, you can't have another one. Do you know what I mean? Unless you can actually have another one.
Unless you've got the cards for it, yeah.
Yeah, unless you've got the cards for it by the sets you've selected, or once you've run out of slots for it to go. So
you can still select them though, Once they're greyed out, you can still select them, yeah.
To select them to look at, but you can't assign them to your ship.
No, you can. You can still do it. But it greys it out so that you don't want to do it.
Oh, right, okay. I didn't realise that.
Quite cool.
There you go. And what else you can do as well is a random generator. And I was doing this quite a lot when we first started playing, especially when it was just me and the missus playing with 2 or 3 ships each, is you pick a points level. Again, you tell it what ships you've got, obviously which cards
and
then you've got access
this saves as well. Once you've loaded that in, what your collection is, it saves your collection.
That's right. And then you just press random. So you go, right, I'll have 100 points, I've got a starter set, I've got a bomber, I've got an advance, I've got a slave. And it'll just generate you a 100-point list with various ships, various upgrade cards of various pilots. And you just get them out and you play.
It's quite cool. I like it.
Yeah, it is cool.
The other thing I find really useful on that particular squadron builder, because there's a few, that, there's more out there, find whichever one works best for you, is It's good at looking at like the stuff you don't own and different pilots and
That's
different cards, because it's got a summary on there of all of them.
Yeah.
Tells you everything you need to know. Tells you everything that's on the card, basically.
Yeah, like I say, the random generator I found really, really fun to use, especially when we were playing our first games. Especially when you don't know what stuff does and what's the best things to put with each other. You just click on that and play, and then you find out that way. But it also exports quite well. So if you want to export it out to copy and paste in an email or something like that, or print out it.
That was the only thing I found not great with it, was
All right.
the export wasn't. It's a bit, doesn't seem to do it as well as I'd. You know, like we use Quartermaster for Warhammer.
Yeah.
That displays it really nice and easy
It does,
and simple. Yeah. Whereas this one doesn't quite export as nice as Quartermaster does. So
no, not as nice as that, but better than a lot that I did. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Squadron Builder, I like
that's
that.
what I found.
Good tip. Okay, my next tip is flying in formation. So it's quite tricky to figure out, how to do it all without crashing into each other. And there's tons of guides out there, dead easy. Just go and watch some videos on YouTube. You'll be able to learn how to fly in formation. Still a massive headache. What I've found is the easiest thing to do is, rather than pushing all your ships together in a tight box, and then there are certain manoeuvres you can do which will not crash, even if you are right butt up together, and just stick to those manoeuvres. If you want more flexibility of manoeuvres, you have to space your ships a bit. Now, what I've found, in fact, I'd figured it out by spacing them to that space anyway, and then someone at the tournament today told me, if your outside edges, so if you've got two ships side by side, and the outside edges of those two ships, so the left hand of the left one and to the right hand of the right one, is at shooting range of 1, that distance means you can do any manoeuvre and you won't hit, which is really cool. Because the problem is, if you both do a bank 2 or bank 3 or bank 1, you twist, and because your corners stick out, the corners bang. So you have to space enough so that the corners don't bump no matter where you go. And that space to be enough, I was putting my range ruler between the ships and then shoving an extra few mil. But it's actually, if you do it as range 1 to the outside edges, you can do any manoeuvre and not bump.
That's good.
I like that one.
I'm going to remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like that a lot.
Okay, so back to you.
So this is one that I looked at before we went to the Big Bang, to the tournament. So the missus had gone out for the night and I'm sat alone at home, so what do? You start painting some stuff. And one thing I did think with the X-Wings miniatures, the models themselves are great, but I was never massively keen on the stands and the stems. So what I thought is, I'll paint them. So basically all I did was spray them black, paint them up a little bit, got a Sharpie on the card that sits in there, and the number cards as well, so they got black.
Sharpie's a marker pen.
Marker pen. Went around all the edges, so they're all nice and black. And I thought, you know what, they're really smart. They do. Be dead chuffed with them. I take them to the tournament the next day. No one. I've not seen anyone on the internet do it or anything like that. Rocks up at the tournament, and of 18 people that are there, 9 of them had probably done exactly the same thing.
That's not bad seeing. I haven't, Chris hadn't, Andy hadn't,
Yep.
So Marcus had. None of our group had, but tons of the other people had. They do look. It makes finish it off nicely.
But I was really chuffed with how they came out, actually, especially when you get them on a black board. They just look a bit sharper.
I saw one chap had done. I think he'd painted his bases and stems black, and then he'd lined the end of his cards with red, and the end of his number markings, he'd done the edges of them red as well. So that was quite striking against the black. It really stood out. And so another guy had painted his blue, which you think, why would you look blue? It looks stupid, but actually looked really good because it
did look.
It was all flat blue. It all looked different, and did a good job of that. I like that. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that one. Paint all mine black. Yep. Get the spray can out. So that's 2 each. I think I'm winning. I like mine better.
Fair enough.
There you go, competition. No, not really.
We'll see how many black stems we see after this goes out.
Okay, fair enough. This one's easier. I'm definitely going to win because mine is crashing is not that bad. So let's see how much crashing we see. We'll see lots still.
Yes.
But people can make out they've done it on purpose.
Yeah, meant to do that. Yeah.
Crashing's not that bad. So this was kind of one I learned rather than one I read. And I played Greg over a week, and he was spewing that I fell straight into the back of a tie because I literally couldn't manoeuvre slow enough to make sure I'd still be able to see his ship. So I flew a tie in the way, and then the higher pilot skill fell and straight into the back of the tie. So he stopped dead, and I wouldn't have to. I'd still be able to shoot Greg's ship. So crashing's not always bad. There's a few reasons it's good. Particularly when you're chasing an X-wing with a tie, because the ties can only go 2, and the X-wing can go 1. So if it just goes 1, you fly past. It's a bit rubbish. So crashing, and sometimes you can't even. If you've got a whole formation behind an X-wing, you might want the whole formation to go slow. So if you do a hard one with one of the lead ties, then the rest of them do a bank 2. You should be able to crash everyone into that lead tie, and it'll be a massive pile up. They'll all crash into each other, but they all maintain their firing arc and their position.
You ever watched the Blues Brothers?
No.
Scene at the end.
No.
Everyone crashing into each other.
No.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, fair enough. Is that the next tip? Watch the Blues Brothers.
Oh yeah, watch the Blues Brothers. It's a great movie.
Probably have seen it, but I can't remember the reference.
I think it's got the record for the most crashed cars in one scene.
Nice. I'll check that out. So yeah, crashes are always bad, and particularly, like say, to slow your ships down if you don't want to overshoot. Also to sort of manage your turns. If you want to turn a bit, but you don't want to turn too much because you'll be out of arc. You can
chuck a ship in the way.
Move one ship in one place and then crash the others into that. Crashing into ships can be useful, but it's at a price because you don't get to action.
It is. Yeah, I mean, to add to that, what we spoke about towards the end of the last show about making sure that you are getting your actions on these ships that you've paid lots of points to get double actions or special actions. Don't crash by mistake. Because you lose that. If crashing gets you in a good position that you need to be in, go for it.
Yeah. So crashing to advantage is a tactic you can use, and
definitely
it is useful. So okay, so next up,
so that's from me. So that's plan your opening moves. It's the sort of one part of the game where you have got total control of. You can sit there on your kitchen table and move. And like you've said earlier about making sure you've got your formations right, your spacings right. That's something you can sit and you can plan.
Yeah.
Get your list, decide what you want to take, and then decide how best to use it. And like you say, get your formations right, get them set so that you can all go, 3 soft left or hard rights or however you need it to be. Because it's the one bit where you've got real control over before it starts to get a bit messy when you have to react to things.
Yeah, and this is once you get more advanced as well. There's some pretty funky deployment things you can do to ensure that your first couple of moves are in. And it's even like if you want yours. One of the things you get the problem with is if you go 3 or 4 ships wide, move to the middle of the board and then turn in, you end up in a conga. You get one man at the front, so it's nice to plan your moves so you can go forward a bit, barrel roll one in, so you're conga in early. Then when you turn in, you're in a gun line or so to speak, spread out. And it is quite cool. Another thing with planning your moves and your deployment is there was some debate on what you could measure during that first deployment, and the debate was the fact that it says you can measure from the table edge to the number 1 line.
Okay.
Because you can't go further than that, so you can measure that way. But there's nothing that says you're allowed to measure across your deployment. So, like I've said, 2 outside edges is 1. Really, you shouldn't be allowed to measure that because there's nothing that says you can. However, someone emailed into the designers and the FAQ team to ask how it should work, and they says do what you like, and if you want to bring you can get like a custom deployment template where you can pop down and pop your ships into your template and then just take the template away. That's all fine and legal. So if you've got a particular setup where millimeters matter, you can make yourself a little template for that.
Yeah, so that that could be something you just lay down, isn't it? And you don't you're going to move off it, so you don't even need to take it away, do you?
Particularly good with ties because you've got a bunch of pilot skill 1s. You're not really giving your plans away as soon as you put your template down. You've got 3 more ships to go in because they're all going down together, so it won't matter. But yeah, I like that. That's probably a bit more advanced, making templates for deployment. But yeah, it's just something I picked up from reading the forums, that one. Okay, so my turn for a hobby one, I suppose. Paint your tokens. I've painted the edges of all my tokens, and everyone's like, oh my god, how long will that take? And it's like, not that long actually. I sat with my paintbrush and a couple of paint pots, watching telly, painting the sides of my tokens as I went.
Yeah, one thing I did say to you earlier on, though, the amount that you did paint,
Didn't need that many.
Don't need to paint that many.
Yeah, I don't need that many. But I did paint every one of my tokens got painted. All my range rulers got black mark around the edge. My asteroids got the same. My 2 shooting templates got red on one, green on the other.
Yeah.
And 2 reasons. 1, they look cool. 2, dirty dogs like you don't steal them. Or, more to the point, when dirty dogs like you steal them, I can find them easy in your box.
Yep.
And you said, didn't you? You've got 2 or 3 of them in your box at the moment.
Yep.
Which I didn't even know about.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
And I'm not that bothered about because I've got thousands.
Yeah, I mean, we said, didn't we, when we first started and we got a couple of ships each and we were sharing them out, I was really keen to make sure we got all our stuff back, focus tokens, target logs. And actually, now we've got, a dozen, 15 ships and 15 sets of target logs. Unless you're using all of your ships, you just don't need that many.
No.
You just don't. So, yeah, if you're going to do them, I'd do half a dozen of each and then I'd leave it at that.
Yeah.
Because you're very rarely going to need more, unless you're tie swarming it.
So just paint a few, whatever you'll need of each and away you go. But yeah, they do look cool. You can actually buy markers. They're called paint Sharpies and they're in the right colours really. You get a bright lime green, a red, a blue and a black and you can paint the edges with them. But I think there were a few quid each, so I just whipped out some of the Citadel paints, and they seem to work out all right with that. A bit more tricky to get the paintbrush around, but fairly easy. Edge of the big brush. It's all good. Okay, so you're number 4.
So storage and storage and transport really.
Yeah, this is one of mine, and we duplicated it, didn't we?
Yeah. So when we first started, we were just sort of keeping them in the little plastic blisters, moving them in and out. And then we were at the Masters, weren't we? And I saw 2 chaps playing, and they've got really useful storage boxes.
And that's a brand name. That's not just what we're saying.
Yeah, no, it's a brand name. So it was a 9-litre box, which is about 6 inches deep, about the size of a shoebox.
Mm-hmm.
And in the top it's actually finding out what it was a hobby tray. Loads of little compartments on there. So, that's quite good. Magnet sheet in the bottom, magnets in the bottom of the ships, all stuck in there. Tokens and stuff on the top. Brilliant. So went out, bought one, and again, especially when you're at a tournament like we've just been to, you can have that to your side. So you've got all your tokens and all your bits in there. They don't have to be spread out everywhere. Grab your focus when you need it, drop it back in there. Really good, really nice.
And magnets in the bottom of the ships.
Yeah.
I've made card boxes and boxes for my cards to go in. Printed them off from Board Game Geek, laminated one side. Sellotaped them together, even put magnets in the lids to hold them shut. Really cool, and I'm a bit of a geek. I like to fiddle with all my geeky bits, and it's
like to organise.
It's good fun. So storage boxes they are good. I'm actually going to do a blog post at some point on this, details of exactly what we've done, how we've done it, what glue I used on the magnets, what magnet strip I used, all that sort of stuff. So you've got everything. That'll be next month, so I'm not in any rush to do it, but I will get one out there for sure. Yeah,
I think it's a really good way of doing it. I mean, we were chatting to a chap, weren't we? Who'd got one of the multi cases. But putting them all in, taking them all out, putting them all in, taking them all out. It's a bit more work, especially if you just want to get your ships out and have a quick game. Yeah,
I do think the KR multi case one, it probably protects them a bit better. Yeah, and it's a bit smaller than ours as well.
It is, yeah. But it might be something to have at home. Yeah. So while you're not using stuff, it all goes in there. Then when you want to go to an event,
mine fits nicely on my hobby cabinet.
Yeah,
fits into the shelf, so I'm quite handy with that. It's lucky.
Yeah.
But no, definitely get some decent storage. Don't do a Greg and have them in a Rosa's tin.
Yeah, just scrape them off the board and straight in.
Yeah. So it's all good. Okay, so final one. Both of our final ones are asteroid related, aren't they?
Yeah.
So first up, I've got asteroids as K-turn markers. And this one was definitely read off the internet. Didn't know this myself. Found it on the internet. So if you're flying towards a table edge, and at the start that one of the asteroids along that line of the table edge has been placed right on the tooth on the edge line, then as long as you've not passed the asteroid, as long as you're not close to the table edge than the asteroid is, you've got room for a 4K turn.
Yep.
So if you're heading towards the table edge, you want to be able to do your 4K and spin around, but you're unsure if you'll fit. If you're not closer than that asteroid is, you can fit. If you're in a large ship, it's a 3K. If you do a 3K from that position, you're going to have room and you will fit. Once you fly past that last asteroid, you know that your 4 won't. So if it's close, you know that you should be able to do a 3, definitely.
Yeah.
As long as you're not a full ship length past it, you'll be alright doing a 3. So just a nice range marker for using the asteroids.
Yeah.
So if you want to be, you know, you can't even get it wrong because your asteroid aren't allowed to be closer than 2. So
provided no one's knocked it
or cheated, you should be alright.
Yeah. No, that is good. That is good. Using it as a bit of a reference, like that. My one is just actually placing them, and looking at how you can place them to your advantage as well, because terrain in most war games is quite important. And asteroids are no different. I mean, when we've started out, all we've been doing is just slinging them on to the look, all right?
Shuffling them around.
Yeah, and then playing. But then, having been to a tournament, I didn't have the initiative in any game. So the first thing that my opponents did with the asteroids is place the largest asteroid you get in the starter set, bang in the middle of my deployment zone.
Yeah, that's what happened in all of my games as well. Except Smiler, as he just picked one up and chucked it down, and he was like, "Yeah, I like this."
And then I put an asteroid down somewhere, wasn't really bothered, and then they put one immediately to the left or the right of the first one at range 1 to create this like cluster and this line. And obviously then they'd work around that. Most people would have it quite central, and then their ships would go down one side or the other in a tight group.
Yeah, and I think that comes back to tying into plan your opening.
Yeah.
Plan your opening in conjunction with what happens if I win asteroid roll.
Yeah.
What happens if I don't win asteroid roll? Do I need to change my list points to increase the chance of initiative? I was on 100 points.
Yeah, I was.
And I had 4 roll-offs for initiative, lost all 4, and then the other one was against a 99 point.
Yeah, I mean, I had 5. Everyone I played at the weekend was 100 points. So was I. Lost all 5 rolls. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's not like going first or going second in a game or anything like that, because obviously you go, I go. But there's definitely an advantage there, because 5 people wouldn't have put the same asteroid in the same spot each time if there wasn't.
So that's maybe a future show of figuring out the importance of asteroid placements and learning about it and then talking about it. All good. So that's our top 5 tips. If you have any other beginners tips, let us know, because we are beginners at this point. Tournament veterans, actually.
We've been to 2.
Tournament veterans.
I even placed.
Strictly beginners, I think. We're getting the hang of it, and hopefully, as we're learning, you guys can follow along and learn with us. So yeah, I've enjoyed this one.
Yeah.
Get some tips together. It's always cool. Feels like we're doing something useful on the show as well, rather than just talking about, I played this game, I rolled this dice and took my men off.
It's like we're providing a service.
Yeah, providing a service, finding some tips, and also, I'm sure some of my tips have been useful to you, and some of your tips have been useful for me, definitely. So it's all good. So
I do like the K-turn marker one. That's good.
That's a nice one. I've definitely read that on the internet. Didn't learn that one myself.
Because I often look at the tag and go, oh, can I make that? Can I make that? Oh, I'm not sure. I better just turn instead.
That flying formation as well. I already knew. I'd figured out that if I put my range ruler between the ships, so my left ship to the right ship, the range ruler, the width of the range ruler,
3/4 inch, isn't it?
I'd figured out that if I put that down and shove a little bit of a gap as well, then I could all do the same bank maneuver without clashing. But then this chap says, "Oh yeah, it's that distance." So good tip, that one. So, okay, well we'll take a break, then we'll come and wrap things up.
Okay.
You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home.
So that wraps up another show. Before we get out of here, though, I just want to give a shout out to some of the guys who have left some feedback on various places, the forums and YouTube comments and things like that. So
it's always nice to see, isn't it?
Yeah, thanks to Rob and Kovu Tally, who give us some tips on the Hawk lists. Also a chap called, I think, Cool Fish Boy, I think his name is. Yeah, Cool Fish Boy, who actually direct messaged me on the Fantasy Flight Games forums, and with another tips for a hawk list. So definitely going to try the hawks out. Probably by the time you hear this, I imagine I might have already tried it out. So because we tend to record in a group and put one out
a little bit
later
in
on,
advance,
so,
isn't it?
it's a couple of weeks in advance. So yeah, and thanks to everyone else who's left messages on the threads as well. Now there's one on Fantasy Flight Games forum. There is on the X-Wing miniatures game Reddit. There's the Board Game Geek forums, and I'm just going to keep the same threads going when we post new episodes. I'll post them into the same thread, so it's all in one place. So if you want to message us, you can any of those places, and I'll get back to you. Or you can contact us at using the website contact form, or just dropping an email to contact@xwingpodcast.com, and that goes to both of us.
Yeah, it's always good to hear from people. Certainly with what they want to hear, more of what they want to hear.
Yeah, what you've liked, what you've not liked.
Yeah.
What's your plans for not too distant future? Have you got any ideas, lists, ships you want to try?
No, more just
bought a Falcon, haven't you?
Just bought a Falcon, so I'd like to give that a blast. More just give everything a try really, and then settle on something I'm a bit more of a fan of, be it play style or just models, and then play that a little bit more heavily.
Well, I'm keen to play some more Rebels, but I have bought a Slave today at the tournament, so I want to try the Slave out, but that means playing more Imperial, so I'm a bit torn at the moment.
I have enjoyed using the Slave. I am, again, we should keep mentioning these Aces, which I do think...
Hopefully by the time you're listening to this, they'll be here.
I do think it's just lies. And
there's no such thing as
smoke and mirrors. Yeah, it's all just a bad dream.
Oh, what about the big ships? Speaking to Chris Taylor today, he's pre-ordered both.
Really?
They're both on the way. And I was like, I'm not going to buy one of them. Can't see me playing it, just not going to. However, birthday coming up, I think I might ask for one for my birthday, but I don't think for a second it will here in time for the end of March. So I'm not so sure now. I quite like the idea of is it the Corvette, the Rebel one?
The Blockade Runner.
Yeah, quite a nice shape. I like that one. You get another X-Wing in it. Yeah.
Massive ship.
Yeah.
I think I want to read the rules and read what it does first.
How they work in the game.
Yeah. Because again, they're about £60.
Yeah, the one's like 45 and the other's like 80 or something, 70.
Quite a lot of money to drop on something.
Yeah, especially if you're not going to be playing it an awful lot.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that wraps up this one.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Cheers, everyone.